5, 4, 3, 2, 1. रुक जाए 1 मिनट. हाँ.
A very warm evening to all of you. As we conclude with the final event of GDSC-Explore, we would like to express our thanks to all the participants, guest speakers, and the whole Northeastern DDSC diaspora for making this DevFest a resounding success. During the span of 3 days, we, along with GDSC AEC, GDSC NIT Silchar, and GDSC IIIT Guwahati, hosted a variety of workshops and sessions covering quite a different number of tech stacks, all with the vision to bring attention and scale up the dev community in the northeastern diaspora of the country. We hope this summit would help you to further sharpen your skills and give you a head start in your development journey. Today, we have with us Aditya Sharma, who is currently working as an SD intern at CRED. He has been a project contributor and a mentor at Python Software Foundation for Google Summer of Code. In addition to that, he has received various awards like Linux Foundation Scholarship winner. These accolades make him an exceptionally correct fit to clear the ambiguity surrounding GSoC and provide a cohesive roadmap for the same. Without further ado, I would like to welcome Aditya Sharma as our keynote speaker for this evening. Over to you.
Thank you, Aryan, for such a warm welcome. So I'll begin with the session which we have related to GSoC. And before starting, I would like to just, drop a small introduction. Like I'm currently working in the front-end team at Cred, and I did my GSoC program in 2020. And after that, in 2021 season, I participated as a GSoC mentor in the same organization in Python Software Foundation. So I have made some notes for the program, and I'll share the link with you guys after the meet ends. So yeah, just let's start with uh, the notes. So basically, open source projects in GSoC, like that is our agenda for today, and like the prerequisites for the same are the basics of Git and any one programming language. So these skills can help save a lot of time when applying for this program and in general to any software development internship or any other open source program. And I have linked a repository here in my notes. So basically, I made the same in 2020, explaining basic concepts of Git, uh, which are really necessary in while contributing to projects. So say, example, a mentor tells you to rebase your pull request. So like you should be familiar with the terminology and concepts involved. So yeah, basics of Git are really important. Let's jump on to the main process now of GSoC, and our main focus would be to discuss how we can select a good open source project, because selecting a good open source project is really a challenge. I have broken down the process into some steps according to my experience, and just before jumping to this flow chart which I have made, I would like to share that there is no fixed path to get selected in GSoC. You should apply to build and collaborate for long term. Like still in this season also, I would be participating as a mentor in Python Software Foundation. So it is like a long term thing. And because it is a long term thing, it becomes really important for you to select a good open source project. So I have made this flowchart in Excalibur. Let's jump onto this and see how you can select a good open source project. So basically, what I have done is to select a good open source project, I have divided it into two parts, and this is based on some, you can say cases or the situation which you are in. Specifically, this flowchart is for GSoC program, and say on the left side you have an interesting idea, and on the right side you are familiar with the tech stack. So this is one route, and this is the second route. And based on your situation and the cases which I have mentioned here, we would be following the route which I have made. So, say you want to select a good open source project, and you are a fresher, you have more time in hand, and you are not so familiar with programming or the tech stack which is involved. So, a better idea or a better way is to select a project in such a way that the idea is really interesting to you. You can pick up the tech stack later, you can learn the programming language slowly, but as you are not familiar with the programming language, it is better to pick a project in such a way that the idea is interesting. The second option is like, say if if you have less time in hand, or if you have worked with the same tech stack before, it is a better idea to select a project in which you are familiar with the tech stack. So especially by what I mean by less time in hand is that you are suppose in second or third year, and you are also simultaneously applying to internships and other programs, so you may have less time to give here. So what you can do is choose an idea or a project in such a way that at least you are familiar with the tech stack and the program, at least one programming language which is being used in the project. So next step is quite obvious. After doing these, uh, you have to search for the project idea list or the archive according to your experience in tech. So what I mean by this is that there is a project ideas list for every season of GSoC, or there is also an archive. So if you are starting early, which you actually should, then you should search the archive for past projects. And why past projects? Because a lot of past projects get carried over to the new season as well, and like work is done on them during that season. So in my case, in Python Software Foundation as well, we are building the same project actively only in the Google Summer of Code coding period. So that's why it is getting carried forward to the next year as well. So after you search for the project idea list, what you have to do is you have to go to the code base of the project. It can be anywhere. It can be on GitHub, GitLab, anywhere, on Bitbucket. So now you have to check the activity in the code base. By activity, I mean, is some people already contributing to the project? Are there some active pull requests? Is someone actively reviewing the pull request? When was the last change merged, or when was the last release done? So that are some parameters which you can use to check activity in a code base. So now the next point would be to check if the code base is active or inactive. So what you'll do if the code base is inactive is you'll check activity in the community. Now what happens in the project idea list or archive is that you are always given a link to the community of the organization. It can again be Slack, it can be Discord, it can be some other platform where the open source team discusses about new ideas and their projects. So now the second option which you have is to check activity in the community. You go to their Slack channel, you check like, are people active there? Are your potential mentors active there? Are they communicating with some students who are already there? So if they are active, then what you can do is ask about project status or new ideas from the mentors or the people who are managing the community. So if the community is active, you should do this. In case it is inactive, what you can do is you can skip that organization or that project and check later. Now, what you can do here is you can make a list of all the good organizations, maybe a list of say 5 to 8 organizations. How it will help is that this project idea list or archive is very long. It has around 250 organizations to be precise. So you if you make a list, you won't have to revisit that again. If you think like, if you are confident that okay, this community might turn active in the coming month, then you can just note the name down. So that's how you return to the same step of searching that project again after some time. Now, if the community is active, or say the code base is active, what you do is you move to the actual thing. You start setting up the project, and after that the flow becomes quite obvious. Like, you set up the project. After that, you use the project. You try to identify bugs. Now, what a lot of students do here is they directly try to debug things in the code after looking at one or two GitHub issues. So instead, what you should do is you should spend at least a few hours to use the project and try to identify some bugs. So use the project as a user, as a consumer of that product. So that will help you identify some new bugs or new issues as well. You can immediately, as a contribution, open that issues in the GitHub repository. So if we move to the next step, that is to get familiar with the code structure and project architecture. So once you have set up the project, say in your code editor or say VS Code, for example, get familiar with the code structure and project architecture. See the folder structure and all, how the project is organized, how are things, how are different modules interacting with each other. Get familiar with that. The next step is to try to build a new feature or fix a bug or make PRs. So you build a new feature, like you have to have like at least two contributions in some cases. This is a rule in some organizations, but yeah, like the more contributions you have, the more like it's better because it gives the mentors a chance to evaluate you on a better basis. Like if they can see more of your code, they can evaluate you better, right? So another thing which is really important here, the next point is to actively communicate with your potential mentors. Communication is really important, and many a times you would be working actively and sometimes inactively, like passively with your mentors during Google Summer of Code. So what mentors want is they want a student who is able to work on their own with little to minimum help. So if you actively communicate with mentors and your mentor has confidence on you, then they will definitely try to select you. Moving on to the next point is to start making your project proposal early. Make a draft in Google Docs. So project proposal, making a project proposal early is really important because then you would also, give submit the draft for review to your mentors. Sometimes what happens is people submit these proposals at last minute, just like we submit college assignments. So then there is no time left for reviewing the proposal, which is a really important part. So do make sure to start writing your proposal early. Then one last point which is really important is like keep contributing even after the application period has ended. So basically, like the application period ends and a lot of students stop making contributions or pull requests. You should not do that. Like mentors do observe the patterns in students. They see that okay, this student is really interested, so you should continue contributing to the project even after the application period ends. Now, like even if you get rejected, okay, you have gained good open source experience. I was also rejected in my first year. Then I got selected in second year when I applied the second time. But I gained really good open source experience. Apply to other programs. You already have open source experience, so you can apply to similar programs like MLH, Major League Hacking, and LFX, which is Linux Foundation, or Outreachy, or Google Season of Dogs. So in this list of programs, I have also been a part of MLH. So yeah, that was also a really interesting experience. You can always apply to other programs and you can retry in GSoC later, like I did in my second year. So like obviously if you are selected and do enjoy and also give me a party. And yeah, like this was the basic flow which I wanted to cover. Some points were really important here.
Yeah. Thanks, Aditya, for such a wonderful presentation.
Do we have any questions? Like there is a next part where I have written down some points for troubleshooting, but the main part we have like already covered the flowchart. Do
Okay,
we have any live
great.
questions?
Yeah, like we have a bunch of questions with us. So, yeah, you give your presentation first and then we'll
Okay,
move on to questions.
sure, sure. So the next part after the process is about troubleshooting. So in this section, I have noted down some points like you should learn to use debugger in VS Code, for example, or if you are working on a web-based project, then the browser also has a debugger. This we all like mostly ignore the debugger part in VS Code and we never really use it. We try to debug with just console.log or printf or like logging the thing in code. But debuggers are really useful. They do allow you to give breakpoints in code, and that's how you can debug large code bases. So even really useful in CLI applications or CLI tools. The next point is to learn to search for an error or issue on Google. That is really important. If you just ask for help directly to your mentor or say other community members, then like that would not be a great idea. You should contact your mentor or comment on the GitHub issue for help, but you should also at the same time list down the points you have already tried. So that's why I mentioned the Google search as a really important point. You should, like, if you are commenting on an issue for help, you should list down the points like 1 2 3. I have tried these all things, but say they are not working well, or I am still stuck, I am still blocked, can you help me out? So that way the mentor would, already know what all you have tried, and maybe they can suggest the final answer or a better solution, and also the reason why you were not, able to solve that. So the last point is, do not spend too much time on an issue. Time in specifically when it comes to applying to programs like GSoC is really critical. So do not spend too much time on an issue. Try to pick up a new one if you have spent say more than 2 days, for example, on one issue. And yeah, thanks for reading this. Do I'll share this doc with everyone, and do share it with your friends also if it's helpful. Now I have linked some 2 to 3 things here. I'll just show you that. If you want to, read more about my GSoC journey, I have written it down in detail here in my blog. Basically, I have divided it semester wise, my journey. If you are interested to know, the difficulties which I faced, or say um, any other parts of my journey, you can go through this blog. I have written down it in detail. And the second thing is, like, I have already participated as a GSoC student in Python Software Foundation, and as a mentor as well. So in 2021 season, I had made this presentation. I'll not be going through it like word by word, but I'll just give you an overview. Like, we have web-based projects as well. And what I did was, like, I mentioned the new project ideas. Basically, I used this presentation in a video, in another video, and like I, gave some tips like proposal writing, which are quite specific to our organization, because every organization tends to have a different template for the proposal. So yeah, we covered quite a lot of things and resources. So I have also linked this presentation in my notes if you want to view that. And yeah, you can feel free to contact me on Twitter. So I think the next part is about the Q&A. Bharat, do we move to the questions now?
Yeah, sure, Aditya. Thanks again for the presentation. It was nice, and we link all the social media, like your blogs link and your social media handles on in the YouTube description. Please do have a look. So we have a bunch of questions, Aditya, regarding GSoC, and like starting with it. So can someone participate in GSoC as a mentor without being a contributor?
As a mentor without being a contributor, I think that would be hard. Like, there are high chances that, once a student participates in the organization, like I did in 2020, then it's quite easy to move to the mentor role. But if you wish to participate as a mentor directly, then at least you should have really good communication with the mentors, or but they would also at the same time expect that you make some code contributions and get familiar with the project. And the reason for that is, like, they will also feel confident that you would be able to help other students once you contribute.
Right,
Like, once you are familiar with the code base, they will also feel confident
right.
to allow you to mentor. So yeah,
Okay.
that is the thing.
So I guess first you need to be a contributor, then a mentor.
Yeah, right. At least, few contributions are really important, I think.
Right. So also, like, can someone's proposal be accepted even if he or she didn't doesn't have any PR in the organization, but the proposal is really great?
Doesn't have any PR. That is again, uh, quite, I would say, quite low chances there, because mentors do take into account the code which students have written. And why I mentioned in my flowchart as well the number of pull requests, because the more pull requests, or more features or bug fixes you make, it allows the mentor to better evaluate your code. Like, they have more code to evaluate basically. So in some organizations like ours, we have a rule like which says that you should at least have two pull requests with code contributions. So you can definitely submit a good proposal, it can be selected, but chances are a bit on the lower side if you do not make any contribution.
Okay, I see. Right. So, uh, like we have another question here that what is the value of having GSoC title on your profile? Like,
Okay.
did it help your in your cred internship, or like, does it help
Okay.
anyway?
So GSoC title, I won't say like the title only helps, but the work really helps. The work that you do really helps. Work plus the people which you get involved with, they really are helpful. And like even in interviews, you will be asked what you worked on or say what project you built. So now, if the project is associated with say a great program like GSoC, it's always a better thing to have, a good to have thing. But the work is really important, and again, that's why in this session I focused on selecting a good project thing a lot, because if you select a good project, then of course you will be talking about the same project in interviews, and yeah, things go on from there.
Right, right. Yeah. So we have another question here that like organizations tend to have a Google Doc or something similar to that, a list of ideas that
Mhm.
contributors can work on. So if a candidate has any new idea or any like revolutionary idea for the organization, so
Mhm.
can he or she submit that proposal, and are there any chances that that will be selected, or
Okay. So again, like with my experience, I'll be really honest with this question. As chances of getting selected with your own idea is a bit on the lower side in GSoC. That's what I have seen. And the reason is like companies, or you can say organizations or mentors, are really taking out time from their full-time jobs to get some projects done in open source. They want to promote the community as well, so they try to focus that their own ideas get selected and the students work on that. Like it may sound a bit selfish on the mentor side, but yeah, like to be honest, that is the answer for this.
okay, great, great.
But if that idea aligns or it's quite close to what the organization is trying to build, then the mentors can be really interested. It depends on the situation, I would say.
Yeah, so I guess it all depends on the idea what you are thinking. If it is
Right.
some breaking change apart from the normal functionality of the code,
Hmm.
so they won't bother like
Right.
going through that, I guess.
Like especially if the org has decided to move in that direction to which the idea aligns,
Yeah,
then they would really like to take it up, I think.
great. See. So we have another question. Uh, what makes a proposal stand out? Like I have seen many students writing proposals, writing
Hmm.
like 20, 30 pages proposal.
Right,
But
right.
what makes a particular one stand out? Is it
Hmm.
something related to vocabulary or words, or it is some technical terms they should
Hmm.
mention? What all
Okay.
things?
So, okay, I have observed a few patterns in this because I have also written a proposal, plus in 21 season, I also reviewed some proposals. So I would say many proposals, students tend to write a lot, but there is a no code snippet or way in which they, want to exactly show how they would implement this.
Mm-hmm.
So a best way is to include a small link to a demo, a live demo. So say you have just done a simple screen recording of say one feature, or a way in which you would implement the whole project. So that screen recording is like a really great demo, and the entire proposal, it's like the main strength of the entire proposal. And about the length of the proposal, it does not really matter. What you have to do is you have to follow the template for that particular organization. So just few minutes back when I shared the presentation for our organization, I had mentioned that there is a specific template which PSF follows. So other organizations also have a template, and I think it's quite important. And if you follow the template, it's good.
Great. So, and can someone submit more than one proposal? Because like last year, I guess students
Hmm.
were allowed to submit proposals for at most three projects.
Right, right.
So
Yeah,
does
students.
it, yeah, so and does it increase chances for acceptance if they apply for three, or they should only
Okay.
focus on one?
So, yeah. So, first of all, there are a few cases involved in this. A student might submit more than one proposal in the same organization, or a student might submit proposals in different organizations, or say two proposals in one organization and the third one in the another. So I would say like what I did was I totally focused all my energy on one proposal and one project, because I had done a lot of contributions to that project and I had spent all my time on that. It is best to make one proposal, but make it the best. Try to make it really good, get it reviewed early, and just you should not get tense during the application deadline period. It should be already thing like the mentor should also be aligned with you that okay, your proposal is great, because they also want you to get selected if you have made good contributions, have done good communication. So yeah, like even if you want to make more than one proposal, you can try that in the same organization as well. Like try to make proposals to two different projects. So that way the mentor will know that you are really interested in the same organization. And if not this project, then you can also work on the another project. But if you submit proposals in different organizations, in more than one organization, then it becomes a bit difficult on your side to manage both time wise and effort wise. So you can always do that, but it becomes a bit difficult. And then there are other students who are also contributing, so they may get their proposal reviewed while you are still writing it. So that's why I personally focused all my energy on one proposal only.
Great. So I guess students should focus on one. They should like give all their power to one and make
Yeah,
it stand out.
right. Once they are really sure about the project, right, on which they are working, I think they should focus on that proposal only.
Right. Uh, can you share some of your difficulties that you faced while applying or during the GSoC
Hmm.
period?
Okay. So if you wish to read it in detail, you can go to my blog, which I shared. But yeah, to like share a few difficulties, I would say, like when I applied for the first time in my first year, I did not have much clarity, like the flowchart which I explained today. I did not have this much clarity in first year. So I was not familiar with the tech stack. I choose that part, that flow where you are selecting an interesting idea. I did select an interesting idea. I did set up the project. I also made around good, say, 6 to 7 pull requests and changes in code. But what happened was, while I was in first year, there was another contributor who was in his final year, and like he was making code contributions at a really high frequency. So there was nothing much that I could do. And the situation also matters. Like I had exams at that time. And if another contributor, say in final year, is there in the final semester who does not have exams, so then like obviously has more time in his hand. So basically what I want to say is situations are always different for everyone, right? So that's why he contributed at a really high frequency, I would say. Like so many good pull requests, I would say, not dummy pull requests, which we call so in open
Huh,
source.
yeah.
Really good code pull requests every day and a really great proposal. I also didn't have much clarity in the proposal, and again the same reason. Like I was not really familiar with the tech stack. It was, I think, Django based at that time for that particular project, and I think that's why I was not able to catch up with, I can say, that person or that project in specific. And the mentors obviously felt really confident with that other person, and I didn't get selected, although I had really put great efforts and also made good contributions.
Okay. That was great. Like many students might have faced this in their first year when they were applying.
Right.
So they should apply again in the second year this season,
Right.
GSoC 2022. So like I have seen like I may be wrong, but I have seen ki there are many projects related to web tech for the
Hmm.
GSoC. Like organizations tend to have more projects related to HTML, CSS, or anything web technology.
Hmm.
So, are there any chances that a particular tech stack tends to get more proposal acceptance if I'm applying for a web tech project? So, the chances of my proposal of getting accepted are high than a mobile project or than something else.
I would say chances of getting the proposal accepted are not high. They are the same, because I do have friends and say colleagues who have worked on front end Android projects as well and front end, Flutter projects as well, and they also got selected in great projects. So I don't really think like there is an inclination towards the website. I think in say a specific organization, you might observe that because maybe they are making products for the web, like all their products are for the web basically. So maybe you might have observed this pattern in a specific organization, but if you observe the whole GSoC program as a whole, then I think there are projects in, I think, really different tech stacks. Even in Python Software Foundation, there are so many sub-orgs that they have ideas in, say, various fields like machine learning as well. I have seen students getting selected every year in the machine learning domain as well.
Okay.
So I think again it comes to that point, like if you are really successful in selecting a good project for yourself, then the things will get easy from there.
Great, great. So, like, there are no biases
Yeah,
regarding the tech
yeah,
stack,
I
I
would
see.
say.
And yeah, so we have come down to a last question. And for the viewers who have joined us now, I would say, I'm saying ki we have listed the flowchart link in the description. Please do have a look, and that will really help you in your GSoC journey. So we have a last question. What will be your last one piece of advice to someone aiming for GSoC 2022?
Okay,
Although I
so
guess we
yeah,
have gone through all
yeah,
the advices, but
we have covered a lot. But one thing I would say, like in the flowchart in the last, you saw that rejection part, right?
right,
So I would say like don't get stuck to that you only have to do GSOC and say don't get stuck. You can always reapply. But there are other programs now as well. Like I told you about MLH, right? About Major League Hacking program as well. That also has a great open source track in which many companies are participating. I was a part of the Amazon track, and what I observed was that Amazon US based team does not actually hire in India. So I think it's like a really great and interesting setup in other programs as well. If you are getting to work in teams which are not based in India,
right,
so that's really great thing. Then LFX is also there, the Linux Foundation Mentorship program. So I did not really get time to apply or participate in it because I started working at Cred after MLH. But I think it's a really great program as far as feedback from my peers and friends is concerned. So these two programs are great, and for girls also outreach is there. Like many people are participating. Earlier, Rails Girls Summer of Code was also there, but that I think got cancelled. That does not happen now. But yeah, like just move on to different programs, or if not open source programs, don't stick to them. Like do apply for internships as well. Do apply to Cred. Like Bharat is also there.
yeah,
So yeah, I would say don't stick to just one program.
yeah. So that's one of the great advices, because many students, after rejecting, they think that now we
Yeah,
cannot do open source. GSoC is not equal to open source, I would say.
right, right. Like they get, they take it personally, I would say. Like many students tend to take it personally. They think that like I'll just to spend all my energy to be successful in this program.
Yeah,
But I think it's really important to look at other things in the industry as well.
great, great. So I guess that's it for the Q&A part. So thanks, Aditya, for answering all such questions. I think viewers will now have a hold of what is GSoC, how should they prepare, and what are the chances of, like, how will they succeed in their journey. So thanks, Aditya.
Also, I've shared the link of the Notion notes in the chat if you want to forward it to other people.
Yeah, sure. We'll link that in the description of the video. Please do have a look.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so thank you very much. Thank you very much, Aditya, for coming here. Um, so this concludes GDSC Explore 2022. We would like to extend a warm gratitude to all the guest speakers who took the time out of their busy schedule and made our event a big success. And I would also like to congratulate the fellow DSCs of IIT Guwahati and IT Silchar and AEC for the successful completion of GDSC. Furthermore, we have linked all the social media handles of Aditya and in the description of the YouTube video. You may connect with them if you want to. And last but not the least, the whole team of GDSC would like to thank all the participants who attended GDSC Expo 2022, because It's you guys who bring meaning to our events. We hope that you took many things of value out of all these sessions and will continue your journey of code with a new vigor. Keep yourself connected with us for more such future events. And this is DSC and IT Agartala signing out. Have a good night, everyone. Thank you very much. Thank you, Aditya, for joining us.